If you want, Larry, you could probably even put us on already.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's gonna be doing it first. He's gonna be up for that point.
I believe he is going first. If it makes you feel better, my budget presentation should be relatively short.
Awesome. And I have the clicker. Do you think he'll be doing that?
Yes, that 100%. I just make sure his mic is on when he starts talking. Maybe you want to put it on that. Yeah, because he'll grab it.
Check.
So I'm delving into the head coach field.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
So they didn't have enough coaches, so I decided to volunteer. The other coaches are fighting on an email chain about who gets what players, and the teams are unfair, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God.
Always happens.
Like they're 8 years old. Like none of them are good. This isn't Little League.
Yeah, we used to be, play games until
Yeah.
so most of the time.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
That's about it.
And there's a lot of kids that have left what the baseball thing I'm doing and have gone to do cross because there's a lot of pressure that we're crazy.
Yeah, my son started baseball. And he tried to play football and lacrosse.
Nice.
But,
Doesn't want to.
I'm too busy.
Yeah, well, that happens.
It's too bad. That's
Okay.
I love this. I can I'm a big fan of baseball.
Yeah.
It's not for strategy, more basketball. I gotta
Get through the emotions.
yeah. I watch a lot of videos.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing right now for the drills for baseball. I mean, I really like baseball, but my son really likes hockey, and I'm not into hockey at all.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I love watching. I love watching them play Xbox. And he starts in 2019. That's about as far as hockey, you know. We know more players, but that's about it. You know, I just never played it. I don't know.
my son never played until a year ago. Now he's obsessed with it.
Nice.
But we're just trying stuff out now. See what grips, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. I am, actually. My own district is going back at the same time. Our two neighboring districts, same time. I would so much rather that than in June.
Yeah, exactly.
So much rather that than in June.
The first week of June, it's summer. Kids are ready to go. Those last 2 weeks.
The teachers are ready to go. And to have kids come back on a Monday to Tuesday, you're not gonna get them back, first off. Like, the attendance will not be here. And if you do, they're not
These headaches. When I go to the doctor, I was checked out.
I had a deep cough for like 2 months, and
Yeah.
it just finally went away, so.
It's my new test. How do you like it?
Wow. Like about this size.
It is
At
a
night. I don't know what it is.
What time are you eating? Sugar low? No. I had like coffee was giving me a headache, so I had to cut back. Yeah.
Stay hydrated. Gosh, it's so much water.
Yeah, staying hydrated is good. Getting electrolytes.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need more sleep.
I keep
Good
telling my
luck with
wife,
that.
I think that's, yeah, that's what I keep telling my wife.
I keep telling my wife. I think you're just gonna keep telling her.
I was gonna say, how old is the little one now? You're not, yeah, no, that's not it.
I was Googling it the other day and that one popped up like, oh, there it is. That's my problem.
That's my problem.
I'm still not sleeping. My youngest is 3. I had 2 in my bed last night.
Thank God I had good sleepers because I am a mess with no sleep.
Uh,
A mess.
I could deal with anything other than this sleep deprivation.
Right, terrible.
It's hard to sleep with this too.
How old is your little one now? 1? 1.5?
Yeah, well, 19 months now.
Yeah.
Staring down the tube.
Yes, yes, I did.
Don and Marcy, just in case you guys want, you can either use the podium or you can sit, but you have to take the microphone if you sit. So you can do either or,
Short and sweet, I'll stand.
whatever you prefer.
I didn't even see it, so I didn't know. Nope.
You don't have to sign that,
That's
I just
okay.
need to know if you win.
I went.
This morning.
because I had to.
Oh,
It's a real, like,
I already did,
well, that's fine.
but I went.
There. I have to vouch that you win.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm used to getting certificates when I go to PD and they don't give out certificates.
So you're just gonna trust your word that she left it.
Otherwise, the vendor doesn't get paid.
And they wouldn't.
Hello. Mr. is rolling your eyes. 8 minutes early.
Yes. It has. Yeah. It's gone from less. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're. Oh, yeah.
Steal somebody else's, yeah. This is the water in there, I think. She'll bring some out. Lori, she'll bring some out.
Presently,
Good luck.
yeah, I think,
Laura's out?
yeah.
Oh, that's where I am.
Yeah. Right.
What's even the harm in that? That's crazy. Right.
Good evening. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted, and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and the Courier News. Formal action may be taken. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Here.
Carol Pogorski.
Here.
Eric Zerling.
Here.
Andrew Saunders.
Here.
Robin McCallan.
Here.
Anna Shin.
Here,
3 are absent.
please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Shin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This evening, I'd like to recognize 2 Reddington Middle School students for their extraordinary accomplishments. First this evening, we have Mason Quintard. I received an email from Mr. Hilkema describing Mason's recent accomplishment. He writes, Mason successfully auditioned and earned a seat at the New Jersey Region 2 Symphonic Band. Region 2 is made up of middle schools from Hunterdon, Middlesex, Monmouth, Union, and Somerset and Mercer counties. This is the most prestigious honor a middle school musician can earn through the New Jersey Music Educators Association. He had the 8th highest trumpet score out of the 62 students who auditioned that day. We are so very proud of Mason that he will be representing RMS at the state level in this way. So Mason, you're here tonight. On behalf of the Board of Education, we'd like to recognize this extraordinary accomplishment for you in receiving this award and competing at the New Jersey Region 2 Symphonic Band. We have a certificate of recognition for your accomplishment if you'd like to come up and accept it. Congratulations. Mr. Hilkema, I'd like to offer you the opportunity if you have a couple words that you'd like to say about this accomplishment for Mason.
Good evening. So Mason has been my student since 4th grade, and it's been just absolutely outstanding to see him grow as a musician from the very first squeaks and squawks and attempts at buzzing on his mouthpiece in 4th grade to where he is now. And I can definitely say, along with the rest of the band staff, that he is just an outstanding musician, full of natural ability, has a kind heart, and is such an inspiration to all the other students, not just in his band, but in the entire band program as well. So I'm just thrilled that Mason has this opportunity to perform at this high level with such outstanding musicians from around our county and our region. And if anyone's free this weekend, they have their concert at Bridgewater Middle School on Sunday, I believe it is. So you'll hear both his group and the wind ensemble group performing there. And we are just, again, so thrilled for Mason to have this opportunity and to represent us at the state level. Congratulations, Mason.
Mason, once again, congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Hilkema, for speaking and telling us about the program. Second, this evening, I would like to recognize Christopher Sorreo for receiving the New Jersey Association of Gifted Children 2020 Distinguished Student Award. This is a very high accomplishment. There's quite a list here of accomplishments that I want to read off to the Board of Education. Christopher is a 13-year-old eighth grader from Reddington Middle School in Hunterdon County. He is one of the historic co-champions of the 2019 Scripps National Spelling Bee. He was a 3-time regional winner, besting school champion from 10 counties in western Pennsylvania and eastern New Jersey. Along with the other co-champions, Christopher is the runner-up in the Time for Kids magazine 2019 Person of the Year. Additionally, during this past summer, Christopher and his team won the International Team Spelling Olympiad in Princeton. To help kindle a passion for reading in children, Christopher assists his sister in teaching spelling patterns and words at a youth center in Plainfield. He has organized 4 spelling bees for the center's children. In 2018 and 2019, Christopher and his team of inventors placed first at the Smithsonian Museum's Spark Lab Invent It Challenge. Their invention, Fig, a portable vertical garden equipped with sensors, is currently on display at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington. For their catastrophe care kit, Christopher and his team placed third at the 2018 Steam Tank Challenge organized by the New Jersey School Boards Association in Atlantic City. Christopher has always been passionate about the environment. As founder of RMS's Global Goals Green Team, he acts as a student ambassador focused on making the school more sustainable. Christopher was the state finalist in the You Be the Chemist Challenge at Florham Park last year. In his spare time, he enjoys listening to classical music, and he likes playing piano and acoustic guitar. He also loves to travel and try new cuisines. So, Christopher, this is an extraordinary accomplishment that you've achieved, and I just read from a number of other accomplishments that you've achieved while being a middle schooler here at Reddington. And I'd like to, on the behalf of the Board of Education, provide you again with a certificate of recognition for all of these significant accomplishments. So congratulations. Mrs. Freeman, you don't have to, but I'll invite you up if you'd like to say a couple of additional words.
We're totally not missing opportunity. My students, and I would say it's so clear that Reddington rolls out really cool kits with Lisa and Chris, and I think that can't happen without the equally amazing parents that we have that take them to every event, that support them everywhere. And I remember seeing Chris's mom like this during that national spelling bee, and then the international spelling bee, and Time for Kids, and everything else. So I think goes without saying, he's kind, he's humble, he's just one of the best kids, one of the best people that I've ever met. I am proud to say that he is one of our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Freeman. Christopher, Mason, and your families, thank you for joining us this evening. You're certainly welcome to stay if you would like, but I'll be moving on to the next portion of my superintendent's report, so thank you for coming. This evening, I'm going to draw your attention to the screen to give the board an overview of the housing development projects that are proposed for Reddington Township. So the purpose of this presentation this evening is really to give the board a comprehensive update on the proposed housing development projects for town. Really so that we as a board have a clear awareness of the proposals that are coming for housing development in town. A lot has been in the local paper recently. There's also been some conversation over among the township committee. But if you have not read anything in the paper, this should give you a nice overview of what's projected for town. So first, our enrollment history, and this will present again when we talk about the budget. You'll notice that over the past 9 years, we're looking at approximately a reduction of 400 students in that time. So this shows you that enrollment has been declining over the past about 9 years or so. And that's important to know because when it comes to housing developments, when new houses are built, we're talking about more students potentially moving in and enrollment changing over the next couple of years. So a brief look at our school configuration. Three Bridges School houses grades pre-K through 8. Enrollment is approximately 304, and that does include the preschool students. White House School is grades K through 3, and enrollment is approximately 308. White House School, it does not house our preschool program. White House School does, however, have our students with special needs and self-contained programs at their location. Hollenbrook School is grades 4 and 5 with approximately 331 students. And Reddington Middle School is grades 6 through 8 with approximately 531 students. So these enrollment numbers in our school configuration, with enrollment declining, our enrollment obviously in each one of the schools has been declining over the past couple of years also. But that may change with the proposed housing developments. So the first development I want to talk to you about tonight is the Willows at White House Station. This is also known as the Nelson Street development. This is a total of 72 units, 14 one-bedroom units, 40 two-bedroom units, and 18 three-bedroom units. All 72 or 100% of the units are affordable housing, and the estimated completion date is spring 2020, which is right now. The houses are finished. There are families that are moving in. We just recently in my office received registration by one family that came just about last week. The family came last week. The map on the right-hand side with the red arrow shows you the approximate location of Nelson Street, and this is just me going to Google Maps and then putting a red arrow at the approximate location. So you'll see that this is in that area up here off of Main Street in White House. Reddington Commons is the second development that's being discussed. This is on Route 22 West. This is a total of 254 units. 64, approximately, I would say, 64 units will be affordable units, 25%. 190 of the units will be market rate, 75%. And the estimated completion is 2022. One thing I just want to note, I didn't note on the last slide because the Willows is already constructed, is the information that I'm providing to you tonight is based off of the best estimates that I've received from either the Township Committee or based off of what I've read in the newspaper. When I say at an estimated completion 2022, this is just approximate. So know that perhaps over the next couple of years, we should begin making plans for 254 more units. But these completion dates are flexible and could change. So I want you to know that. We also I do not have an estimate right now about how many bedrooms what the percentage of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedrooms would be of these 254 total units. That information will be forthcoming. The next development is proposed to go in the Bramco Interstate Ironworks area, which is also known as the Mullen Road development. This is a total of 192 units. 48 of them, approximately 25% would be affordable housing units, whereas 144 would be market rate units. And again, I'm going to emphasize the word estimated. The estimated completion date would be approximately 2023. And this is Route 22 headed west, near the Gables, off of Mullen Road. And again, the map is, Google Maps with an arrow that shows the approximate location of where the development would go. Finally, a property known as the Diaz property off of Route 202 in Three Bridges. This would be a total of 80 units, similar to the Willows on Nelson Street. All 80 units, 100% would be affordable. And once again, estimated completion is approximately the year 2024, potentially even 2025. You'll see the red arrow with the location of where the development is proposed. That is Route 202 actually going through. So this is just kind of, you're on Route 202 headed up into Three Bridges. This is on the right-hand side. So conversation, this is, and I report this to you because this is something that was a board goal that we discussed back in September. So our planning, what have we done thus far? We've actually engaged in conversation with the staff at the Willows, and we've received some periodic updates on applications and potential student enrollments from the property management over at the Willows. We did also provide the property managers at the Willows our registration packets and encourage them, if families are moving in with children, to hand a registration packet to them so that they can come over and register here. We have created additional seating on buses. Know that the Willows up here in White House Station would be a walking district or walking over to White House Station or White House School. However, if there are students in grades 4 through 8, we would bus them to RMS and to Hollenbrook. So we have anticipated that we might have to put additional students on routes. And then we have in the business office discussed consideration of free and reduced lunch applications and the question is, would affordable housing increase our free and reduced lunch applications? We're using a Rutgers study as a resource. This Rutgers study, you can see the reference at the bottom, is a survey of developers and property managers that helps us estimate approximately how many students may come from these developments. Suffice it to say, it's a pretty complicated formula that you put into a matrix, I would say, based off of this study, and it can give you an estimate of how many K-12 students that you may get from one particular development. Again, it gives you K-12 students. We're a K-8 district, so we still have to estimate, even though we might have a formula through this Rutgers study, we might be able to anticipate how many students we're going to get. It's kind of hard to tell with being a K-8 how many exactly would be K-8 and how many students might be 9-12. We have, Mr. Bowman and I have continuous meetings with the Reddington Township Committee to talk about these developments, and we are also closely monitoring enrollment. We're even trying to plan for enrollment for next year too, based off of how many children are moving into the Willows. It's also important to note that 3 of the 4 developments that I just mentioned here are located on the northern portion of our township. In other words, they're in the White House school sending region. So we are maintaining careful observation of anticipated and actual enrollment numbers, what's needed at White House School. Knowing that perhaps an influx of potentially 30 to 40 students over the course of the next year, many of whom will be attending White House School, we recognize that there could be a potential impact on building operations, the capacity, and staffing. Not only with the Willows, but all of the other 2 developments that are proposed to be in the northern portion of town. So all of this to say, this is going to require some careful planning and some close monitoring over the next couple of years as the housing developments are built in our township. Are there any questions from the board?
Do you know what portion of rentals versus post-owned? Are they all rentals?
I don't think that they're all rentals. The information I have, based off of the number of affordable houses versus the number of market rate houses, suggests to me that they're all in some way purchased. They're not in fact rentals, but it was-
Nelson Street is rentals,
is rentals. They are
Yes,
rentals. Okay.
100%.
That's for the affordable units. But when it comes to market rate units for the other developments, we're going to have to wait and see based off of the proposals that come from developers to develop in those areas.
So I noticed that the Rutgers study talked about the rental units, and I was just wondering if those formulas are different, if it's rental versus ownership.
Yes, and the Rutgers study, did you look it up? The Rutgers study I thought had different formulas for rental versus market rate and high rise versus low rise, condos versus single family market rate homes. So that's what makes it so complex because you have to know bedrooms, bathrooms,
Right.
how tall the building is, how many floors, whether it's, you go in to like an apartment complex or rental units and take an elevator and it's kind of like apartment style or hotel style. Like there's all kinds of different considerations for the Rutgers study. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
So do you have, just a ballpark feel? And I understand all the factors you've just explained. And I appreciate that
Yeah.
level of detail you've gone into. But just some sort of a ballpark estimation of all these developments through 2025, what the sum total, I mean, does this mean another 200, 600? Do we have any clue? Or is it too early to even remotely guess?
It's for the Willows. We can give. I would feel less confident, but somewhat able to give an estimate. The houses that are further out, the developments that are further out, it's too early to tell. Primarily because there are so many factors to be considered. Like I said, the numbers of bedrooms, and bathrooms in each unit, as well as the relative height of the unit. If it's 1 story, 2 story, 3 story, market rate versus affordable, rental versus non-rental. All of which, that information for the other housing developments I don't have. For the Willows, there are 2 things that I've been using to estimate the approximate number of students that may come from the Willows development. One is that Rutgers study, right? What they would actually project, because we have the number of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom units, and we know that it's 100% affordable. So the study is one. The second thing is Flemington Raritan just recently put in a Willows housing development right behind Walmart, near Walmart and Costco. Theirs is, I want to say 80 units. So I've been using kind of 2 metrics. One is the Rutgers study, and 2 is what's actually happening in our neighboring district. Those 2 things combined, I could give a halfway decent estimate over the next year of approximately 30 to 40 students coming just from the Willows.
So 80 units yielded how many students?
Approximately between 30 and 40
So
students.
it's less than 1 per unit. It's less than half per unit.
Yes, and the other consideration is the way the Willows is constructed, you cannot have children in a 1-bedroom unit. So that automatically takes those units off the table for having children. Yeah. Now, extrapolate that, right? You can say less than 1 per unit. And if we go back to, let's say, Mullen Road, 192 units or something like that, you could assume that it would be less than 192 students. But I would have trouble estimating that because of the differences in the Willows housing development versus what's proposed for Mullen Road, i.e. 25% affordable versus 100% affordable. That's why it makes it so hard to actually apply the same ratio because of the other factors that are involved. Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else? Yeah, Robin.
I mean, so looking over the history of enrollment, we've had up to 400 more students than we currently have now.
Right.
So what did our facilities look like at that point? When are we considered capacity? That sort of thing.
Right. But I know that we, based off of enrollment, we can house 400 more students. The question is where, right? With 3 of the 4 developments being up in White House Station.
I mean, has there been talk of just redistricting and moving some kids, busing them towards 3 Bridges?
I think it's something that we might need to consider at some point.
Yeah,
We'll
I
have
mean,
to
with,
see.
with 30 more, that's probably not a big deal. But
Probably
when
not.
The next
The next 2 waves.
development
Yeah.
comes into effect, yeah.
comment and then a question. The
Sure.
first is, if you go back to Ironworks,
Yeah.
I just want to make the point that that school road, just to the upper left in the picture. I believe the plans do have some sort of paved walkway from Ironworks back to school road, and that's where White House sits, right? So
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be, initially to me it was misleading. I'm like, oh, this development is off of Route 22. They
Okay.
can't really walk many places, but actually they have a very short walk to get back to White House. And I don't know if that has implications on facilities or use of our grounds after school or whatever that may be, but I just figured that was worth noting. It is just as close as Nelson Street is to White House School.
Good point, yeah.
And then the other thing is just, we might just need to start talking maybe in ed tech about meeting the needs of all learners and how we're doing that really well. And if we do have any areas of growth there, just knowing that if we do get students that are on free and reduced price lunch, that kind of changes the whole ratio of who's entering our schools, and potentially there could be students from districts that aren't as privileged as ours coming into our community, and we will then need to meet their needs. So just like a consideration, it sounds like we have a million things that we're already thinking about. I think just add that to the list and maybe talk about ed tech.
Thank you, definitely. And even the implications for personnel have been discussed, even at personnel, right? The specialized type of staff that we may need based off of a change in population. Yeah. Anything else from the board? Finally, I'll hand it over to our budget presentations for this evening. We will start with transportation. And as Marcy, feel free to grab the mic and sit at the table or stand at the podium. It's completely up to you.
Standing is fine. Hi, everybody. Today, you thought Dr. Hart's presentation was exciting. Wait till you get to this one. I'm here for the transportation budget. A lot really doesn't change with my budget. We'll start with the 270350 account, the student transportation management fees. They stay the same mostly every year. That's for my out-of-district students for Hunterdon and Somerset. That is the same as this year. Next would be the student transportation 270390 account. That is our routing system that we use to make the routes Versatrans. It is for our drug and alcohol testing. The annual fee for the drug and alcohol testing, and then the shared services with Branchburg. That is down for next year compared to this year. The next account, 270420, outside bus maintenance. That is, we use that for all the buses that are out of warranty, which is a lot of them. Fire extinguishers, they have to be serviced once a year. We do that in the summer. And then Division of Motor Vehicles, that is for the bus registrations. Next one is 270511. That is the contracted buses. We have 3 for Branchburg. They help us with our Reddington Hollenbrook runs, morning and afternoon. We currently have 3 of them this year. And then we have 1 contracted for not a Branchburg bus, but a bus company, just in case. And then we have a contracted bus from Branchburg to help us with sports for the fall and spring sports. Next one is the next page, page 2. 270513. This is for reimbursement to Hunterdon Central for aid in lieu for the non-public students. And then non-public students that should take a bus if there is a route available. Next one, 270518. This is out of district special needs, Hunterdon ESC, which we use the most. There's one for an additional placement in case there's a surprise during the school year that we need to send the student out. And then Somerset ESC, which we currently use all of them right now. $270,580. This is for seminars for the bus drivers and for the School Transportation Supervisors Conference. The next one, 270593, that is the insurance for the school buses and our tower rental for the two-way radios in the buses. We are on a repeater system, a little bit more clearer than just radio to radio. Then the next page, page 3, 27060, just supplies for transportation has not changed. 270615, school bus supplies, extension cords for the buses in the wintertime, they need to be plugged in. They don't last very long. Diesel fuel, gas for the vans. We've been very lucky. Fuel and gas has steadied out, and it's kind of we've been very lucky with that. And then the Branchburg reimbursement for fuel and parts. That is for our mechanic is over there in our wonderful 3-bay garage and offices. We used to have buses that stayed over there because it was closer to the drivers' homes and they would fuel there. But everybody's back here since we have this wonderful parking lot. And most of that is for reimbursement now for parts that we get through Branchburg for our buses. And then the 270890, that is for reimbursement for our drivers, for their fingerprints, for their commercial driver's license, mandatory physicals. We have drivers that do not have air brakes, which we will all be getting air brakes. That's to reimburse them for the permit if they pass, just little things to help them push them along. The next page, 404, 270730, that is for replacement cameras for the buses. That has gone up a little bit for next year. The price of the camera units themselves have gone up. Remarkable quality, so it's worth the price. And then the last one is 270733. That is for the purchase of hopefully one bus this year or next year. And that's all I have. Short and sweet.
It's a question for Ms. Simon, actually. Are there any buses that are having ongoing issues that are not spares already, similar to the engine issues that we had a few years ago?
There are a few of them that we are having issues with. We just had one yesterday. The turbo went in it, so that's out of commission for a while. So there's a spare bus that's going to be used there for quite some time until we can get that fixed and get all the parts for it. Other ones are it's the normal wear and tear on the vehicles because they're so old.
Is the one where the turbo went out of warranty?
Of course it is.
Of course.
There, we don't have many buses that are covered by the warranty anymore. Anything else?
I want to ask a question. In the packet that we received, there were also, I don't know what this is. I had a question about the bus fleet chart.
Yep.
That was supplied.
Okay,
It showed buses in use that were currently at 19 for the next several years. And then it drops down to 16, 14, 13. I'm just a little confused as to, is that how many we need or will need, a projected need?
if you look at the column, the spare buses, that's how many we have this year. So it's kind of taking that column, the buses in use should have come out, that's kind of confusing. We're always gonna need around 19 buses. Just because of, I understand enrollment's going down, just because of the size of the district, the 49 square miles.
Mhm.
And being, the 40 minutes that the students can ride on the bus. So if you take that out, you'll notice that, this year there's 10 spare buses, we have 3 retiring in June. So then next year we have 7, so our fleet is dwindling by getting rid of these spare buses. So it's either, we have Branchburg that we can fall back on hopefully, or we need to start buying buses.
Yeah, I mean, that was essentially what I was asking.
Right.
Because for instance, by 2024, 2025, it says that we'll have a total number of 15 buses, including those that are spare and those that are in use. I mean, not that I'm trying to borrow agita from the future or anything, but I just wanted to know whether we should emotionally prepare. It seems like we need to emotionally prepare ourselves for buying a lot of buses. And
We
I
should. We need buses. There's 3 going this year, there's 2 going next year. And there's some days that our buses that are on the road every day, there's like the stop arms, the crossing arms that come out, when they go, they don't give any warning. The stop arms on the side of the bus, when they go, they don't give any warning, and you can't take them out on the road like that. So we depend a lot on our spare buses. And once these go, we have to take the buses that we use every day now and make them spares.
So this isn't based upon what we need. This is based upon the buses we currently have.
This is
If
based
they're on a
upon,
glide path.
right, this
and
is
we don't
based
come in
upon
and
what's
buy the buses.
retiring. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I just want to make it very clear that this bus chart is if we didn't buy any buses in the next 6 years, right?
That's not what we need. It's the glide path.
It's a
for
glide
our
path down
population.
if we didn't buy any more.
Understood.
Yeah,
And so
so
it
we know we
doesn't-
need to buy more.
So does it take into account the one in the budget?
No, that's not
Not
in
at
there.
all, okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
The next budget for discussion is the facilities budget.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I provided everybody with some supplemental information like I always do. I'll just refer to it since we're going through the line items. So we'll jump right into 261420, which has our maintenance reserve projects that we're planning on for this coming summer. We are looking at installing wireless backup signal systems for our fire alarms. We currently have one installed at RMS that we're using as a test right now. It seems to be working very well. It uses the network as a backup as well as cellular service. So because we've had some issues with communications with our phone lines recently, and this is a way to get a little bit of a backup. Also, Hollenbrook and White House are due for the painting cycle. Paul's sitting back here. So we're going to do some painting along with this. And this is bringing an outside contractor in. They bring in a crew of guys and they can paint 10 times as fast as we can. I'm planning for my guys to do some of that painting as well, but they can come in. Over at RMS in the 400 hallway, I've been working on the last couple of years of getting rid of carpets in classrooms. A lot of these carpets are 20-some years old. They're unbelievably impossible to clean at this point. And just from a cleaning standpoint, having some kind of resilient flooring is a lot better. We did it the last couple of years. We did it at White House with that carpeted hallway, along with last year we did one at Three Bridges as well. That'll get rid of more of those carpets. In RMS, on the backside of the 500 wing, which is across from the baseball field, we want to create, that is used as a fire exit. So we want to create some kind of sidewalk that'll allow them. Right now, they just have to basically walk down on grass and walk through glass. And then if there's snow there, they have to walk through snow. So we want to make them make it easier for evacuations. We're doing the same thing here at Hollenbrook with a couple other carpeted classrooms, getting rid of some of these classrooms, those carpets, and a couple of rooms over at Three Bridges as well. And then also we want to replace the exterior main doors at Three Bridges, make it something a little nicer than right now. It looks like you're walking up to prison doors. So we do something a little brighter there. So we keep moving down to 261420. The next four things is broken up into 4 different schools. This money is set aside so we can bring in outside contractors, do some work for us. That's mainly boilers, HVAC, roof repairs, if we had to bring electricians or things like that. And this is just projects that's really come a little bit beyond the scope of our own maintenance people. And then just that we can get things done in a timely manner. 261241, we do an annual lead test in the district. This sets aside money to do that lead test. The next 4 items there, 261600. This is general maintenance supplies. This is supplies for my staff due to their in-house repairs that they do. 262300. This is some of the regulatory compliance people we bring in to help us with compliance issues. You're talking about maintenance, well water, right to know. It also includes our fire alarm monitoring, our water testing that we need to do for the DEP. And it also adds a little bit of money set aside if we need to do some air monitoring in our buildings. The next one, 262420. This is our operations of our plants here. This is our trash and recycling budget, our IPM, our pest control in the buildings. It also takes care of the building management systems that we have for the HVAC controls for all 4 buildings. One of the biggest line items in here is the custodial services contract for our nighttime cleaners. That's one of the supplemental things that I gave you that just shows a comparison that the savings to the district by having that contract. It also, for a couple additional dumpster services, we end up getting a dumpster in the summertime just to get rid of some excess things and some of this stuff to help. It also does our fire alarm system inspections, our fire equipment inspections. That's our kitchen equipment, our kitchen fire equipment. And then also we need to have fire extinguishers done every year. They need to be inspected, and a lot of times they need to be recharged and retested. 262490. This is our sewer taxes for the district, our city water service that we have for White House, our custodial mops, elevator inspection fees, the temporary restrooms we use for athletics for the middle school. And then we have a couple of containers in the district that we use for storage. One is at one is at Three Bridges we use for furniture storage, and the other one is here at Hollenbrook that we use for old tech equipment. 262520, that's my part of the district insurance premiums. 262580, this is travel. This is professional development and the in-district travel in between the buildings. 262590 is the 2 software programs we use. One is the work order program we use for maintenance, and the other is the energy management software that Jody Betterman uses to monitor our electric use. 262600 is our general supplies. Those are paper products, garbage bags, custodial supplies. It also includes light bulbs for the district and then disposal of those light bulbs as well. And then anything we need for, any other thing we need for the maintenance department, that's their supplies. And then just keeping up on our maintenance vehicles in the district, that's the service involved with that as well. 262-621 is natural gas. That is the natural gas, PSE&G in Elizabethtown, and then Direct Energy, which is our third-party supplier for Three Bridges. 262-622 is our electric, JCP&L, and then also Amoresco, which is our solar PPA agreement company. There's a couple of handouts I gave you that's related to that, to energy. One of them shows the solar production. We have a full year's worth of solar production numbers now. So that'll give you a pretty good idea of what we've done with solar over the past year, last school year. As you can see on that, we've generated about 1 million kilowatt hours at a cost of about 7 cents a kilowatt hour that we're producing in our own. That's taken away from the electric budget.
And Don, what's the electricity that we buy on off the grid? How much does that go for?
That's about 12 and a half cents per kilowatt hour.
That's great. Thanks.
And then also I gave you a little bit of historical information on energy use that I've done. Just the one thing to note that historically over the past 10 years, just by monitoring and behavioral and keeping an eye on these things, we've managed to cut our energy costs in half over the past 10 years. And then the other handout, the one that looks like this, has a couple pie charts at the bottom. We went through, now that we have a full year's worth of solar data, Jody Fetterman has gone through and actually created us a new baseline that we can use moving forward. We compare energy costs to this baseline rather than the old baseline, which is about 10 years old now. So it'd be nice to see those numbers compare moving forward. So keep moving down, 262-800. This is associations that the district is involved with, along with some registration fees. That's some of our boilers, back to our elevators, some of those registration fees we have to pay every year. 263, we move onto the grounds part of the budget. 263-420. This is we have a contracted snow removal company we use for White House, only because of the location over there and the small space and the need to be able to move that snow out of the way. Any of our own grounds equipment repairs, that's for keep our own equipment running, since we use it year round. We use it for snow, and we also use it for cutting grass in the summertime as well. The RMS, the Project Adventure inspection repairs, that put some money set aside so we keep that up to safe, to be able to use it safely. The playground mulch, every year we do playground mulch for our playgrounds. And then the last thing on that is a snow rental agreement. We rent a backhoe every winter to make sure that we have it available if need be. Normally what happens is as soon as you hear that snow's coming, everybody rents all the equipment and you can't. It's tough to find. So that pays for that. 268-600, which is our general supplies and buildings for the grounds. That takes care of our ice melter and our road salt. That's what we use on the sidewalks and we use in the parking lots. Our baseball and softball infield material, our athletic field paint we use for athletics, landscaping materials, just general landscape materials, the mulch we put on, we spruce everything up before school starts. Anything else that comes like that. Track maintenance supplies, the track that's up out here that pays for those supplies to keep that up and running. And it also pays for our grounds equipment parts to keep our equipment running. 266-300. This is our security professional and technical services. This is the security monitoring for the district. This is Sonatrol. This is the building alarms. They also monitor for us our walk-in refrigerator and freezers in our kitchens, along with our boilers. So if something happens, something goes down, something shuts off, somebody comes in the building, we're getting a phone call for that. And then security patrol, this is our agreement with the township to provide Officer Gil Murray and Officer Harris to do security patrols for us. 266-420. This is security cameras replacements. We budgeted a little bit of money to start replacing some of the exterior cameras we originally put in 5-6 years ago now. Just from age and being out in the weather, they're starting to having some failures there, so that budgets a little bit of money so we can make sure we get them replaced. And then the critical response group, that is the digital mapping we did last summer for the township and then for the county as well. This is we'll do a review, update of anything we need to do with them for this year. And then 266-600 is just our general security related supplies, the lanyards everybody wears. We're purchasing stop the bleed kits. We're getting things together for reunification kits, things like that. That pays for those kind of supplies. So we move down to Fund 12, which is our construction projects for this coming summer. Of course, the biggest one is the TBS boiler replacement. We're going to replace those boilers in there. The other two things that are on here, I think Jim Belsky probably already talked about the IT equipment upgrades, the smart boards, and then we're increasing our battery backups on our network systems as well. We're looking at doing some upgrades to the cafeteria sound and also lighting system for the cafeteria. Hollenbrook, here we're going to do do a partial roofing replacement here in Hollenbrook for one of our more troublesome areas, along with possibly doing some waterproofing and some concrete block in the area too to try to keep some of the water out of this building. And then the last thing is the state security referendum projects. This is grant money that's available through the state of New Jersey. And then right now we're looking at possibly doing some more window film. And then the other thing I have on here that I skipped over, the LED lighting direct install program through the New Jersey Clean Energy program. We're going to be replacing and doing all the lights at White House and Three Bridges and replacing them with LEDs. Both schools, along with changing a couple of rooftop units and things like that qualify through that program.
Is that a grant program also?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's being paid through, that actually gets paid through that program is that little 2 or 3 cent charge you get every month societal benefits on your electric bill. That's where that money comes from. It's kind of an 80-20, they're paying for 80% of the project, we're paying for about 20% of the project. But those two schools will be moving over to complete LED lighting.
And the payback on those projects is about 1.5 years. So that after that, it's pure revenue, cost avoidance, I should say, really, for the district. Like at Three Bridges, it's going to be something like $17,000 a year after that cost avoidance. It's very significant.
And then going back to some of those other line item budgets with putting LEDs in those two buildings. Those couple budget line items about light bulbs and disposal of those light bulbs. Well, essentially, we won't need to do that for those two buildings. Right now, to get rid of one of these light bulbs, the tubes that are in here, it's about $1 to dispose of it. So just the cost of getting rid of those bulbs and then plus the energy savings, I think you'll see a difference in next year's in Three Bridges and White House's numbers for energy.
A couple of questions, a couple of comments. On the Hollenbrook roof replacement, do you have any idea how many square feet the replacement was? Approximately. I don't mean to put you on the.
Yeah.
Let me get to the punchline,
Sure.
and then you can. Because when we were doing these solar installations, we could not put any panels on roofing that had less than a 15 or 20-year warranty or something like that. So if this is now a substantial area that is now being re-roofed, we may want to consider looking at that as far as augmenting the installation. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, probably the area above the library, which is we're doing the area around the library. So basically, you walk out here into the hallway, and that whole hallway around the library area is part of that roofing that's being replaced, along with the roof that's directly above the library. The area that's right directly above the library is probably the only place where we could possibly, there would be enough room space-wise to put some kind of panels there. Yeah, the other area is not really wide. You know, it is a big area, and then about half of it is in the sun, is in the shade year round, which is, you know, a part of the waterproofing that we're looking at doing is trying to keep some of that moisture out.
Well, you know, just, it's something to consider, obviously,
Yeah.
because if we can get some more 7 cent a kilowatt up there on the roof, as opposed to paying 12 cents for it off the grid, that would certainly have financial benefit as well as the obvious carbon avoidance, emissions avoidance. When we were on doing some touring of the schools, this is just a minor note. When we were going up the three bridges, the front steps, I noticed that the steps are starting to fail at three bridges, and you can see the rebar starting to rust through. And I was just wondering if, you know, maybe when it's, when it's warm and it's dry out, if
Yeah,
maybe,
we're gonna look at possibly recoding those steps.
yeah, something,
Yeah.
you know, just to extend, you know,
Do
maybe some
something
epoxy or
with that, some
urethane
kind
or
of
something
epoxy or something in there. We'll take care of the cracks that are in those
You
steps.
know, maybe we can get another extra couple of years out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thanks, man.
I have two questions
Sure.
too. When we go back to page 1 and we're talking about painting,
Yes.
Hollenbrook School and White House School, I'm just curious, the cost for the outside contractors and having a crew come in and do it in a shorter time, you know, is, you know, I understand that. But what would the cost be for us to do it in-house? I mean, there has to be more of a
Just a little bit of an
savings.
example of, I've had one of my guys who's been coming and doing some painting for me on Saturdays. He's put over 100 hours.
Okay.
And I mean, it's, you know, relatively speaking, he basically painted the cafeteria here himself. He did the RMS cafeteria. We've done the RMS cafeteria as well, along with doing some other work here in the building. It's very labor intensive. We can't do it on, you know, during the day, or it would have to be off hours. It would have to be, you know, only because of the smell of the paint and things like that. It's, I don't think we could do it in-house as quick as them coming in and did. A good example is last year at Three Bridges, they did the first grade hallway and they did it in about 2 days.
But what was the cost for that?
That was right up about 12,000.
And that's that first hallway.
The first grade
Where we
hallway. If you
ripped
go
up
down
the-
the bottom of the ramp,
Okay.
yeah, you go down the bottom of the ramp and it's that hallway there.
And I want to thank you for your comparison
Yes,
of in-house.
I knew you would
and
want. I knew you'd
contract.
want to
No,
see that.
I mean, we're getting
So, yeah.
close. We're getting close.
We're getting close. It's gone up a little bit from last year. Last year was about 93,000, and that's only because of the increase in medical.
Mhm.
Medical costs have gone up about 5-6%. So, yeah, that's really where that increase from 93 to 105 is. And then the only thing I don't have is, you know, since it's still in negotiation, those numbers are based on this year's contract
Right.
with custodian rather than the new contract.
So if they bump up their price and we are over this amount, are we going to consider bringing it back in?
Yeah, it depends. We have one more year. This will be the second year in this contract with them. We'll have the option after that to renew for 2 1-year contracts.
Mhm.
And that'll be based on whatever the index rate is. I mean, they could come back and say, hey, you know what, we'd rather have you guys go back out to bid, or, you know, maybe we decide, you know, to go back and bid ourselves. Yeah, I think those numbers would have to swing pretty significant for to you know, bring that back in-house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just one more thing to go back to the painting. I'm sorry, you know,
Okay.
we get
Yep.
stuck on something. Is it possible to see, I'm just trying to justify the cost, you know, and I want to make sure that we're making the right decision
Sure.
on that. You said you had one person, 100 hours. Is it possible to have a ballpark on what was done and what that cost was?
Yeah, I can figure that out for you. Yeah, I can figure that out.
I just,
What we did square footage wise, that.
Did we also- Don, did we do the library also at Three Bridges with that same project in the
That
hallway?
was part of the same project, yeah, they did, last year, the library,
Okay.
they did that first grade hallway.
And was all of that total 12,000, your estimate?
All sold square
We'll
footage.
take a
Go
look
back
and
and
do
see
an
the
we'll
exact-
do analysis. Yeah, we'll do a little analysis and see
Yeah,
what
I
the
can-
cost
I can
benefit is.
go back and look.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
I think finance would be appropriate for that too, so.
yeah, and that's fine, it's, as we move forward, we really don't have that many, projects that my guys will probably be doing over the summer, so it's very more than likely that I'll be able to take a couple of those guys. And, hey, you know what, you're gonna spend the summer painting. The only thing is, like I said, it's gonna have to be in areas where there's no students or things like that. only because,
Well, we did see at White House School, we were, and Dr. DeRosa bragged about how well one of our in-house people did that front
he
area.
did that, right,
And
he
I have
did
to
that.
tell you, it did look
Right,
amazing.
he did that. That was one of the things that he painted. He painted that front hall with the new vestibules of the White House.
Yeah, it looked really good, so.
Yeah, it does a great job. But like I said, it was all over.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you. The final budget presentation is administration, personnel and benefits. So I'll turn it over to Jason.
Good evening. So just a overview before I begin that we are going to be going through personnel. There are some items that I likely will not discuss because they're confidential in nature. So feel free to ask what questions you may, but I may preface my answers. We also have this as an executive session matter this evening. If you have specific questions on specific positions. So that being all prefaced, the first document that I shared with you is labeled 2019-2020 budget significant modifications. That encompasses not only personnel and benefits, but all departments and the entire budget. It is a summary of the major changes versus the current school year. So that's just for confidential purposes for you to have to know what the major movements are year over year. I will not field questions on that item. The second attachment that is from me is labeled Budget Central Administration. And if you open that up, that I will go line by line because that is a department budget. You can ask any questions you want on that. If you're looking at that, it's page 104. And it says 230331, General Admin Legal Services is the first line, just so you're all looking at the same thing. That line went up around $10,000. That is our line for legal for the board attorney. The reason why that went up around $10,000 is because we have had more legal matters relating to out-of-district placements and special needs students. And there is a $10,000 deductible for every case we have to go to court for. That is the insurance deductible amount. So we currently had one, now we have two in the budget. The next line is audit fees. That is the cost of our auditor. There is an architect fee is the next line. Then we have ASOP management, which is for substitute services. That's our software for that. Strauss-Esme policy, which is what our policy committee uses for policy updates. That is a professional service. And then frontline AppleTrack, that is for posting our openings for employment purposes. Still on page 1, if you scroll down to the last section, that is basic PO boxes and meters and postage, nothing really has changed in that line, so I'll skip over that. If you go to page number 2, we have 230, just so you know, represents essentially Dr. Hart's budget area. So anytime you see 230, that falls under his budget. 251 is my budget. You have superintendent's professional growth and travel, which had a minor increase year over year, just for budgetary purposes. We also have 230585, which is that is travel and fees relating to board member workshops. So we have seen an increase in that, the number of board members going to training. So that is something good, and hopefully you continue going. 230590 is the major increase there, relates to the first line, which is general liability board school liability. That is our general liability for the district relating to buildings, grounds, so on and so forth. There's some other minor things in there that I won't go over specifically, but legal advertising is things that we have to do for legal purposes. The next is office supplies for Dr. Hart's department, paper and so forth. That has not materially changed. And then we have Board of Ed meeting supplies. That's just bringing it back up to what it was in prior years. If you scroll down to page number 3, you have superintendent dues. That's contractual dues in the superintendent contract. Then you have school board dues. Those are legally required by law. So that's $16,500. Then you have Garden State Coalition, which is another dues that's optional, but we have made a commitment to continue with that. The next line is for Phoenix Advisors. That's the bonding. That is, there's certain requirements that we have to send to the federal level annually. They increased their dues recently. It's not a material amount, but I simply wanted to highlight your attention. Then in 251340, the first is our accounting software, which is relatively inexpensive in comparison to competitors. And we also get some money back from our bank to subsidize that, which is nice of our bank. Then you have my travel in 580, as well as my assistant and staff members. And then you have copier costs at the end of page 3. If you go to page 4, you have supplies for the business office. And then the last section is dues relating to organizations that I or my staff members join during the course of the year. Before I move on to other personnel items, is there any questions on these two department areas? So the next attachment that I have attached for you is salaries and regular payroll. I will not be going line by line through this. It is 16 pages long. It represents every salary in the entire district for teaching staff members, as well as paraprofessionals, among others, support staff. If you scroll to the last page, which is typically what I review in totality, you'll see an increase that relates to salary increases that is across the board. So if you look at that percentage, you will see what we are anticipating for the needs to increase salaries and maintain staff levels at what we desire for staff positions next year. The next attachment is called budget stipends. I will not be going line through this either, but It's page 1 of 9, so you know you're looking at the right document. Again, if you go to the last page, you will see that stipends went up a very minor amount year over year, and that's for normal increases that we anticipate. The next attachment I have for you after that is called budget substitutes. This line also relates to salaries. So I won't be going line by line. There's 10 pages of this. I would highlight that you need to go to the last page once again, and you will see the increase year over year, which in essence is 0 from a percentage perspective. The next attachment is budget overtime. It's page 1 of 1. There is no significant change there, but this is overtime relating to our staff that is in-house for custodial maintenance, as well as the IT department. The next attachment I have for you is called budget extended school year. So extended school year is for services that relate to the child study team. This relates to salaries. Once again, their salaries are tied to contractual amounts for the most part. So if you scroll to the last page, you will see a increase in salaries relating to extended school year, which is what ESY stands for. Not a material amount that I will go through because there's a limited number of staff that occur and work in extended school year because it is for specific students with special needs. The last attachment that I have for you is called budget benefits. I will not go line through this because it does relate to salaries and benefits that could be confidential in nature. But if you scroll to the last page, you will see a larger increase in this overall. This has to do with the fact that healthcare and dental costs rise by more than what our tax levy cap can rise by. There's also other fees associated with benefits that we have to pay for by law, and are also based on the number of staff we have. So as we have more staff or they change in nature, the board has to pay for those benefits, whether they are FICA related, whether they are pension liability related, whether they are DCRP, 403B related, whether they are workers' comp related or unemployment related. That relates all in benefits. But the major line on here is health. That was a brief overview. What I would say is that we did go over this in detail in the Finance Committee. And I would redirect you to look at the minutes that are confidential from the Finance Committee, as well as the memo that I provided you this evening for an overview. We also will have a budget presentation to talk about positions in March before we submit to the county by March 20th. So the public will get some more information relating to those potential decisions. State aid has also not been released, so all these numbers are temporary until those get released, likely on Thursday. The governor's address was today. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Related to our March board meeting, just something I want to bring to your attention. Agenda item 6.02 is our revised board calendar that includes what we discussed at our last board meeting. It has come to my attention that our March 10th board meeting now conflicts with the Shannon Daly basketball game, which is held at the high school. I would propose to the board that we move our March board meeting to March 17th. I know it's St. Patrick's Day, but I would just move it to the following Tuesday, and that keeps us within our budget timeline, Jason, for our tentative budget presentation and tentative budget approval. Does that work?
So what's the schedule in March now?
The board meeting would move from the 10th, so cancel the 10th and move to March 17th.
That works for me on that date on the 10th. That would work very well.
I'm okay with it.
So we're okay with the 17th?
Is there anyone opposed to it?
Any opposed?
My Irish
Well-
relatives are frowning upon you.
What's that?
My Irish relatives are frowning.
I know it's St. Patrick's Day. My wife is Irish. I'll hear about it, but there are some other meetings that conflict.
And what time will we do that? 'Cause
That
I
go,
already
we,
have something on my calendar, but they let me see.
we go back to 7 PM in March. Yeah. We'll bring it back up when we get to communications. So I guess I would propose that if we're just a point of order, if we're adopting the calendar, that we would just have a motion to adopt it with March 17th as the reflective date. So we can bring it back up for discussion when we get to communications while you're checking your calendars. I just want to point it out now so that when we adopt, someone makes a motion to adopt with March 17th as the board meeting date.
What if we started it earlier?
On March 17th?
Would that help?
I already know, I got the 7:35 appointment that night. So that's right in the middle of anything, so. I can
Yeah.
Get coverage for it.
What if we started earlier on the 10th? What time do we know what time the game starts?
I think
At
it's
7?
6:30 or 7. Yeah. And to get to the high school too on the 10th. Right.
And get in there before
Mhm.
the game starts.
I'll actually be out of town on the 10th, so.
So 17th is better for,
Yeah.
all right. I just wanted to bring it up for, to see if anybody had any conflicts, but we'll get to it when we get to 6.02. How's that sound? And then we'll make the final vote then. Mrs. Shin, that concludes my superintendent's report.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're now open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda. No public? No? Okay, moving on. We had correspondence from two people regarding Read Across America, and then we had another correspondence about substitute rates for aides. Administrative reports. Can I have a motion to adopt 1.01 and 1.02?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Questions, concerns? No? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Ample,
Yes?
Rob McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zoroni,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
Can I have a motion to adopt 2.01 and 2.02, please?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments?
Yes, there's, in the minutes, there's something I'd like to amend. It's under the superintendent's report. It's on the second page. It's just fixing something that's grammatically incorrect. It's, there's a, right above where it says open to the public. It's currently says Eric Zoroni highlighted that 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and Dr. Hart announced tentative plans. So that's not complete sense. Just say that April 20th of this year is the 50th anniversary. Not important, but that's why we do this.
Exactly. Thank you.
April 22nd, correct?
I'm sorry.
What you said?
Thank you.
22nd, Okay.
Thank you.
Anything
Just
else?
want to make sure.
Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Abstain.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Abstain.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
Finance and facilities, can I have a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.07?
So moved. Second.
And we have a committee report? No? Okay. Any questions or comments on the items? No? Can I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
Education technology, can I have a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.05?
So moved.
Second.
We have a committee report?
Yes. So the committee met on February 18th at 8:30 a.m. We talked about the Spring Teacher Academy, which will run until mid-May. There are 2 online book club activities. Coaches are facilitating several sessions during the academy. Health and PE, we are counseling a mental health pilot. It's called the AVIDM, I Got Your Back program. So we're going to, it will address the new mental health standards for 2020, 2021, and it will fit in with our current standards. So we're going to pilot it with 1 8th grade class with a school counselor co-teaching during the health class. There will be 5 lessons, including a video component. The Chromebook package and policy for 2020, 2021, that is a mouthful.
It is.
So every 4 years, we will be getting new Chromebooks at Hollenbrook, offset those years with replacements to the elementary schools. And starting 2021, every incoming 6th grade student will get a new Chromebook, and they will keep that through their years at RMS. So this is the last year that we will be, 2021 is the first year that we will be implementing the new rollout. And we are reviewing, the administration is reviewing enhancements to safety and protection for the devices, and while reviewing the costs to the district and parents. March 30th, the professional day plans. There are 4 sessions planned, 65 minutes each. There is a keynote speaker, Mike Kuskala, who will be presenting at the end of the day with breakout sessions during the day. Some of the offerings are tech offerings, iReady, Stop the Bleed training, which is a partnership with White House Rescue to administer the training, book studies, and there's a holistic music session, which is going to roll out to the autism and preschool classes. I believe that's the grant.
That's the grant that's on the agenda.
Summer enrichment update. There was a survey. 68 parents responded to the survey. There was not an overwhelming request for full day, which was surprising. The biggest requests were for arts and crafts, STEM, and kitchen creations. So we're going to offer the summer enrichment for 2 weeks. We're going to try to offer it in August after the extended school year and rec program finish up, which is the first week of August. There will be half day and full day options with 3 or 5 day offerings for each week. There will be a school climate survey administered on March 23rd to April 3rd, and they will review the results with last year's results. And there are 2 texts up for approval. Courage Has No Color by Tanya Lee Stone, which is a 7th grade nonfiction book, and Riding Freedom which is a fourth grade historical fiction. Our next meeting is Monday, March 9th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the items or the minutes? No?
Only one of the books made it to the minute.
Yeah, I'll just point that out for clarification. One of the books is on there. The fourth grade book we didn't put on there because traditionally we don't approve texts that are not for our middle school, but rather we were bringing writing freedom to the attention of the Ed Tech Committee, and I'll bring it to the attention of the board because while it was a book that we looked at just for fourth grade historical fiction, it also does appear on the list to meet the LGBTQ standards. So we just want you to know about that we're not necessarily adopting it for that purpose because we were going to maintain the LGBTQ text for middle school, but rather we want you to know that this could also appear on an LGBTQ list as an approved text to meet those standards. There you go.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
Personnel, can I have a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.06?
So moved. Second.
And we do have a committee report. We met on February 10th. We discussed staffing. We reviewed the presentation on the housing complexes we saw earlier today. We started to review setting priorities, staffing projections and requests for 2020 and 2021. Long-term sub-practices, some personnel issues. And our next meeting is March 3rd at 8:30. Any questions or comments on the items? Can I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
And communications? Can I have a motion to adopt 6.01 to 6.02?
So moved. Second.
Do we have a report? No. Okay. Any questions or comments? No? May I have a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. Can we just make sure that we're all clear on what calendar we're going to adopt? So I guess Jason just helped me out with our Robert's rules here. Should we amend 6.02 to reflect a March 17th board meeting date and a canceled March 10th board meeting date? Do we need, is that a separate motion?
yes.
Okay.
So that would be 6.03.
You could amend the existing one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let's get a motion to amend 6.02 to reflect a March 17th board meeting date instead of March 10th.
Okay. Can I have a motion to amend March 10th date to the March 17th date?
Second.
Thank you. You all okay?
Yeah.
Of course, this would
You-
happen on the day that I'm
Right,
doing
yeah,
this.
it's-
You do realize
So
this.
now we need to-
You should do two separate roll calls. One is to vote on the amendment
Yes.
and then separately a vote on passing all of them.
Okay,
Because if not the full board wants to pass the amendment, then they can vote on the non-amended.
okay. So can we have a roll call on the amendment?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes?
Rob McKalen.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
And now could we have a roll call on all of the motions on the table?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Rob McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Zorling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Passes.
Unfinished business? None? Green Committee update?
Yes, we had a meeting February 19th. The first presentation that was scheduled was from the Raritan Headwaters Watershed Ambassador, and Betsy, along with Betsy Freeman's students, but unfortunately the students were ill, so, or a significant number were, so there was no presentation. But then followed a fairly lively discussion with, there were two representatives of the Reddington Township Environmental Commission. They were discussing opportunities for the students to present in front of the Environmental Commission or the Township Committee itself on rain gardens. All the retention basins through the town are going to be evaluated, that they may be converted to rain gardens. They mentioned that the township has passed a disposable plastics ban for January 1, and that there's a rollout that's needed. The virtual backpack, they discussed the possibility of using that for communications. And they both were discussing a charging station that they may install for vehicles. There was a discussion by a representative of CMC Energy Services about the New Jersey Direct Install program. A gentleman's name is Wayne Road. He deals with Hunter and Somerset counties. The program pays 80% of the change. The district would handle the rest. This has already been discussed during Dawn's presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. Dawn, I apologize. Dawn, this is tailored to small to medium businesses, so Three Bridges and White House are eligible. They're going to be converting to just not only the LED lighting, but also there's refrigeration controls, there's boiler economizer, and there's heating, ventilating, and air conditioning control installations. During the presentation, Ms. Betterman observed that the baseline electric data in the proposal for White House looked off, and the presenter, Mr. Rhodes, said that he would look into that. Out-of-pocket costs are recovered 1.5 years. I already mentioned this. Then afterwards, all savings will accrue to the benefit of the district. For instance, the savings at Three Bridges will be about $17,000 a year. Mr. Rhodes, we asked him to present the energy conservation, not only in terms of economics, which he did, but also in terms of the CO2 emissions that were avoided. Sustainable Jersey points will be awarded. There was an extensive discussion on the sustainability program and the publication, and as well as publications. The discussion centered on what we have done so far and where we need to go. There was a discussion regarding the need to isolate priority issues and tasks so as to focus efforts on achievable, measurable interim goals. There was also a discussion about developing a comprehensive sustainability program encompassing facilities, curriculum, outreach and publications, wellness and policy, so the district does not lose sight of overall goals or the necessarily interconnected nature of all the various features, while focusing on these interim priorities. This will also guide and ensure the institutional ethos and the mission legacy. There was a discussion about how to analyze sustainability, how sustainability directly correlates with the strategic goals and mission statement. I had asked the committee, I had presented earlier in the previous meeting a sustainability outline of a sustainability program. I asked the committee for approval to go ahead to try to formulate that into a comprehensive policy. The committee had said that with their approval, I could go ahead and try to draft such a comprehensive policy. The middle school green ribbon, there was a discussion about that New Jersey, we have been selected and approved by the New Jersey Department of Education for the green ribbon. There will be federal announcement later. Usually that comes around Earth Day. The 50th anniversary, as we've already discussed, of Earth Day is this year. So there is now a discussion as to whether or not to have some celebration on April 22nd itself to celebrate the achievement of the district that we have. All 4 schools are now green ribbon winners. There's going to be a meeting. I just received an invitation from Dr. Hart. There are a couple of, several other people we're going to be discussing. I think it's March 6th, I think was the meeting.
I think so, yeah.
Something to that effect, that we're going to be discussing the possibility of holding a celebration on April 22nd. As far as the Reddington Middle School well, there were some problems with that. The casing had cracked and it allowed some intrusion of contaminants into the well. That has been fixed. It's now back up and running. There was an energy program update that was tabled. In essence, that just a rough, quick statement was that the electric use is down, natural gas is slightly up, and that there is a new baseline, which Don alluded to. And that the National Wildlife Federation Schoolyard Habitat discussion was tabled. The next meeting will be March 24th.
Thank you. I have something to bring up for new business. I was introduced over the last couple weeks to the Hunterdon County Municipal Alliances. This is a group in our county that's made up of 5 different groups that represent the 5 high schools in our area, with a goal to create and maintain drug-free communities. They work with parents, youth, educators, law enforcement, businesses, and many others within the community. They do provide funding to our schools for prevention education programs on the risks and dangers and consequences of drug and alcohol abuse. I did give Dr. Hart one of their postcards to pass along, because maybe some of the programs that they offer would be beneficial to our students. So, just something new to use. Anyone else have any new business?
Yeah, February 14th, I attended an SEL workshop through school boards. Lot of speakers, so they all had kind of very small amounts of time, but lots of good resources. Ian Hockley was there from the Wingman program, huge undertaking now in New Jersey and Connecticut, really assigning older students to be mentors for younger students. Really interesting program. Kelly Allen from the New Jersey Department of Education highlighted that the governor just passed an initiative for 1 person from each district to be trained in mental health first aid in order to disseminate that through districts. So that was really good news. Their office as well, the Office of Student Support Services, has a lot of resources for professional development through the Department of Education. So if we're ever looking for ideas. Robert Morrison from the director, he was the director of Arts for Education in New Jersey. Really, his whole presentation was on the arts being a secret weapon for SEL in the school districts, and just kind of the nature of their programs, which I thought was really interesting. New Jersey has also passed some regulations that within the next 2 years, we need to revise all the arts curriculum on all grade levels. So it would be a really good time to insert SEL into those, into the curriculum. Christine Nick of Rock and Roll Forever Foundation, lots of great SEL resources for music education, and all kinds of things, actually all areas of curriculum. So all the subject areas and how to integrate music into it, and then all of the kind of other areas that that goes with that. So a lot of history components within, a lot of LGBT issues that come through music in all different areas of the curriculum. Just excellent resources that are out there and for very little cost, if anything. MHTTC through Rutgers, another service offered at no cost, a lot of PD, a lot of trainings, a lot of consult about resources that are already going on in districts. They can be brought in to kind of look over what we already have. And then another organization called Pure Edge, Inc. That's a nonprofit organization for strategies for self-regulation, and really stress the importance of schools needing healthy adults to foster healthy children, so that we have to take care of the adults in the buildings as well in order to have them help take care of our kids.
Thank you.
To follow up on that information, over the last 2 weeks, there's been a community-initiated movement for mental health care in students. I attended a group meeting that was put together and organized by the community over Facebook at Lone Eagle Brewery in Flemington for parents to get together and try to discuss and come up with some ideas, if possible, on stemming the mental health crisis that is not just in Hunterdon County, but really throughout the nation with children and suicide. Dr. Moore from Hunterdon Central attended that meeting as well. It was kind of impromptu. They shared some ideas. Again, last night there was the Hunterdon Central Board meeting, which I attended, and there were a few hundred community members that showed up at that as well, wanting to address the issues that, again, aren't just in our sending high school, but really throughout the state of New Jersey. And I know I spoke to Dr. Hart about a week ago, to try and, I hope that we can work with Hunterdon Central and all of our sending districts to try and come up with some ideas to help our kids. There was a lot of information that was shared last night by Dr. Moore on what the school at the high school is doing on their level. I don't know if you have access to those slides. I took pictures. I could send them to you, Dr. Hart. Okay. But I just want to make everyone aware here, people on YouTube, if they're watching, Dr. Moore has put together and organized another event for March 7th at the high school. I think that's a Saturday. And it's really not just for people who have kids in school, going to have kids in school. It's really for the community, for everyone in the area. So if you have the ability to attend, I can get the information to everybody. It's going to be on March 7th. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else? Okay, we're open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? No? Okay. We're going to move into executive session. Can I have a motion to approve the following resolution? To adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss negotiations, personnel benefits, budget review, legal matter regarding an employee HIB, student hearing, and HIB for approximately 45 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session where action may be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known when such circumstances will exist. May I have a motion?
So,
Roll call, please.
Ray Egbert,
yes.
Carol Hampel,
Yes?
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for turning me on.